Hello and welcome to the signing day live stream inside the U. Very excited to be back. It has been a minute. It has been a couple months. I apologize, but hopefully you guys are all doing well. We're going to get started very shortly. First off, shout out to Savage Kane 305. And also, everybody, if you haven't seen it yet, there's plenty of videos about signing day today. Manny Diaz talked to the media. So there's plenty of content on the channel right now. And then also Jake Garcia, there's stuff on the site and you can check out. And honestly, just to let you guys know a little bit of a heads up, look for more content on Jake Garcia because we were at the event. We had someone covering the event tonight as he signed and picked Miami. So definitely check that out. Want to get those out of the way real quick. I want to check on this chat real quick, but once again, glad everybody is here. Looking forward to getting this thing started. And also, there's so much to talk about, a lot going on with signing day. We talk about the top recruits, maybe some position groups that you guys are, maybe what you guys think of the groups, and I'll certainly provide my opinions and talk about what Manny had to say today, and maybe some perspective and some thoughts on how things are going with the class. So just real quick, I want to check on the chat. Everything's been going pretty well though. And yeah, I want to get this going real quick. See if that'll work. But okay, let's get right into it. Let's start with Jake Garcia. So once again, we had somebody at the event that lives in Georgia, covered the event for us. We had live updates on the website. It was great. There was a lot to talk about. A little bit of drama, a little bit. The principal actually revealed Jake's choice a little bit early before Jake got to, but all is well. Jake picked Miami. One thing that stands out to me about Jake and watching his film, and once again, I broke down his game film on the website, on the channel here, if you guys haven't seen it, of his first 5 games of his senior year. Some things that stand out to me with that, and I definitely want to do a full season with him, so I'm definitely going to do that, and he's still playing, so definitely look for Jake, and they're in the state semifinals. They have a huge game on Friday. But things that stand out to me with Jake, and I do want to break down his film in another video, maybe in another stream, showing you the exact throws that I'm talking about. The things that stand out to me with Jake. First off, let's talk about how he approached his senior year. From California, he did not have to play his senior year. He could have just enrolled early, taken these 4 months to train, but instead he goes to Georgia. And to me, for him to do that, and first off, he goes to Valdosta High School, very competitive environment there, only plays 1 game, was ruled ineligible, and then he goes to, and it had to do with his transfer stuff, and then he goes to Grace, another powerhouse, one of the top programs in the country, and he does well. I think for a guy to go to those schools shows a lot about his character. It shows a lot about how much he cares about the game and improving. He's someone that showed up to camps. He worked out. He was always that guy that did that. I think quarterback, more than any other position, I believe intangibles matter. I think you're always looking for the intangibles that stand out. I touched on a few in terms of transferring across the country just to play his senior year, make sure he got some games in with his development. And I think those are big. And I think a lot of guys, talking to the guy that covered the event tonight for us, he said, because he's been around Jake there in Georgia, and I wanted to kind of pick his brain a little bit. And one of the things he said was he's very friendly. He talks to a lot of people. He jokes with a lot of people. He's very personable, things like that. So I think that stood out to me, and that's not a surprise. And also, Jake did really well with the interview today. And once again, you'll see that on the site, on the channel here. And I think all those things matter, leader of the whole thing. However, that's only part of it. On the field, the things that stood out to me with his playing ability, things that he showed in his film this senior season, was the biggest thing that stood out to me. His arm ability will shine. Okay, you're gonna be impressed with his arm, his accuracy, and his strength. It's a good combination. But the thing that stands out to me in watching him is he's very good when he recognizes pressure. When pressure's coming in the pocket, he slides away from the pressure. He's not the most mobile quarterback. He does enough to get by and can get yards. He's not a De'Aaron King type, but he can get yards, and he does a good job of sliding to his right, particularly, and throwing on the run and picking up yards. And the biggest thing to me is it's not just check down yardage when he's rolling off to his away from pressure. He does a very good job at throwing the ball downfield, moving away from the pressure. I think those are very good skills at a young age. I think that's going to help him at the collegiate level. I do expect him to be a very good player at Miami. I think he's someone that I understand there's a lot of hype for him, but I think it's well deserved. I think because I do think he's a very good prospect. I think he's one that has a bright future if he stays along this track, continues to work in the whole thing. So I do think there is reason. There's a lot of reasons to be excited about Jake Garcia, and I know many of you that have been around the Hurricanes program for a long time. You understand that there's hype and guys don't deliver, and I understand that. And it's sometimes it's hard to really back a guy once you start seeing this um, all this attention before he arrives on campus. And I think, I understand that, but I do believe, and I've been one that has been pessimistic with certain guys, but I do believe Jake's got a bright future because once again I like his intangibles. Touched on a few things there, and then also the things that he has with his arm talent, his ability, and I think he's going to keep getting better. And the stuff about the pocket sliding away from that, that's something that all quarterbacks still work on, and for someone to do that as a high school senior, I think that's very good that he's good at that point already. So I think those are very important parts. I think it's going to be good for the Miami offense, and we'll see, how he does when he steps in and campus and learns the offense and whatnot. I think obviously it'd be great if De'Aaron King came back to the Hurricanes next year. I think it'd be great for Jake to learn under him and then wait a year and whatnot. I think that'd be good for his development. I know everybody wants it immediately, but it definitely feels like Miami's freshman quarterbacks over the years have kind of stepped right in. And I don't know, you kind of wonder how that's hurt or helped their development. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But definitely, once again, very excited that Jake's on board. You guys should be too. All about the U. Glad you're here. Yeah, hashtag welcome Jake. If you're just joining, yep, he's definitely coming, and look for the more content because once again we were there on location in Georgia tonight, so we'll have more on that. Let's see. Okay, I want to answer your question because I want to stay on this quarterback stuff. But all about the U wants to know: do you think De'Aaron King goes? Do you think Jake will start? Yeah. So my point of view with it all in terms of will seniors stay? That's how I look at it because I just think most seniors are going to go. I think even though they got the extra year, I think I'm not going to be surprised if they just move on with their careers. A guy like De'Aaron next year would be his sixth collegiate year. He could just and I know a lot of people like are evaluating this normal circumstances in terms of the other quarterbacks that are going to be in the draft and where will De'Aaron get drafted and things like that. But I think a lot of it has to do with the way I'm looking at it. Just does he want to be in college another year? Or does he just want to move on with his career and see what he can do in the NFL, have an opportunity there? But certainly if he comes back, there's a lot that Miami can do with that. I think there might be some other seniors that come back if De'Aaron does go ahead and do that. One thing I'd say too is I definitely think this has been a difficult year for De'Aaron, and not that things on the field didn't go well because it did. It just 8-2 as a starter. He put up numbers. He had the 500-yard game. The touchdowns were there. Played well. Definitely helped Miami as a program. He was honestly to me he was the number one reason why Miami went from 6-7 to 8-2, even ahead of the coaching changes. So there's a lot of on-field stuff that De'Aaron did well and should be happy about. But I believe that this was just such a difficult year for him, as it was for many people. But with losing his father in February and losing one of his best friends during the season from back home and not being able to be back home to experience some of these things, I think that definitely had to weigh on him. I don't think, it was kind of odd. I felt like a lot of reporters this year would ask De'Aaron about living in Miami, and most of the time we would ask that what it's like, the adjustment. But this was such a different year. It's not like guys were just living it up in Miami the same way they would and enjoying everything. I just think this was a difficult year. So with all that being said, I think you could see why De'Aaron would just move on. But on the flip side, coming back, certainly he could be better, right? Like he showed a lot of positives this year. That next year would be his second year um, in the offense and things like that. And I think De'Aaron is a guy that has an honest evaluation of himself as a player. Certainly confident in his abilities, but I think he knows he's not going to be one of these top level quarterbacks. So maybe he does feel like he'll come back and maybe he enjoys it. And I think one of the things that stands out to me when De'Aaron talked about his future and what he wants to do, he did a podcast this summer and I wrote about it, but it stood out to me that he really has his eyes on coaching. And I thought that was interesting and certainly wants to give the NFL a shot. I just felt like by him saying that and talking the way he talked about it, it definitely felt like he's not someone that maybe that will push the issue with it or um, really try to work something. I don't know how to word it quite right, but I think basically it's just kind of going back to what I said. I think he's got an honest opinion of himself as a prospect, as a player. So I would not be surprised if he did decide to return. So we'll see. There's a lot certainly that he's got to decide, and so we'll definitely see. So definitely appreciate you for the question. Anybody else has any questions, definitely drop on. We talk about Jake Garcia. I definitely want to get to a lot of the other recruits as well, but plenty of news with Jake Garcia today. And there's reason to be excited. And, I did a podcast earlier, and one of the things we talked about was just how good of a prospect Jake is in comparison to other quarterbacks Miami's brought in here. Particularly, Miami brought in the number one quarterback in the country in 2003 with Kyle Wright, almost 20 years ago, believe it or not. There's been other good ones. Ja'Cory Harris was highly regarded. Even Robert Marv had that late push. He was highly regarded. So there's been guys, Brad Kaya. I think Jay Garcia, I don't think it's a surprise if you want to say he's the best prospect since then. And I know Brock Berlin was a transfer, and he was certainly highly regarded as well. So definitely a lot of eyes, a lot of attention will be on Jake, and we'll see how it goes. Um, I think once again, I think he's got the right mindset. I think he's got the abilities, the eagerness to learn, and the understanding. So definitely think there's a lot of bright spots with Jake and moving forward with his future. And just real quick, I am rocking the Inside the U Beach shirt. You guys can check that out. I'm gonna post it right here on the merchandise. Let's see if I can find it here. This is a let's see, I'll post this one here. Show you guys the black one. Um, let me show you real quick. Take a little bit of a break. And also the black one, like I'm a huge fan of the black one. If you guys are looking for any last minute gifts, I don't know how soon it'll get there, but just wanted to show you guys. And the black one looks sharp too. So if you guys could see that. So anyways, just want to show you guys that real quick, some merchandise. And also there's other ones. There's some hoodies and whatnot as well on the channel, on the site. You can look just below of this video. It shows you there. So if you guys are interested in showing your support even more, definitely appreciate it. You guys have been great all year long. Just want to thank everybody. We're getting close to the end of the year, and I definitely have a lot of videos I still want to do. I've been thinking about a lot of different things, kind of revisit some videos, some stream stuff that I've gotten away from. I definitely want to do that as the year winds down. If you guys like that, also it helps if you guys hit the like button. Let me know if you guys like the stream, want to see more of them. It's a huge help, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. Also below, I'm going to put in the comments. I definitely want to show you guys make sure you guys see the video of Manny Diaz today talking about the recruits. There was a lot to get to there. I posted the full video today. There's some questions I had about a couple things I'll get to, and then also I broke it down into Leonard Taylor and James Williams, Miami's 2 5-stars that they got committed. There's a whole video on that, and Manny actually broke down the film, so I included that in a video as well. You guys just want to see those top 2 in action. What stands out to me about both those guys, they are legit, really good players. They make plays. They've got great speed. They have excellent size at their position. They're everything you want in those positions. Safety, James Williams, about 6'4". One of the things that I noticed today, so James, his senior film has been hard to come by. I was able to track a game down. I put it up on the channel, but there's not been a lot out there. And UM was able to find some film, and they put it in their highlights. And James had 3 incredible plays, and you guys definitely got to check that out because it's really impressive. It's really impressive how he makes big plays, and you see his speed and space. So I think that was great to see. Leonard Taylor, monster performer. He's a guy that I remember at South Dade as a freshman, goes to Southridge and then on to Palmetto, and every coaching staff loved him. He's a guy that continues to progress each year in high school. I think he's got more to go as well, but there's a lot to like. He's a dominating force. One of the best defensive tackles I've seen since I've been down here. Once again, almost 20 years, but very high level motor, He does a great job of with his athleticism and his strength. He gets behind the line of scrimmage for tackles for loss. He finishes plays. Sometimes with defensive tackles, they flash for a play or a drive. Leonard's a guy that, he could go 3, 4 straight plays, making plays, tackle for loss, and all kinds of stuff. He tracks balls very well. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch progress in his career. I think there should be a lot of excitement with him and Jared Harrison Hunt, another young defensive tackle on the team right now, to see how maybe they'll pair together in the future moving forward. Um, so both of those guys make big time plays. It's great. I think the defense really needs help with big time playmakers. You saw them against North Carolina, against good teams, against good offenses. You've got to have really good players on defense. I think sometimes you can kind of skate by a little bit. Sometimes in the ACC, the quarterback play isn't great. If they lack those true speed playmakers, you can kind of get by. But if you're not on point, we saw it against North Carolina, you get exposed, and I think that's exactly what happened. Um, and I feel like there's so much to talk about. We could talk about the team, but I really want to stay on recruiting. Those two guys are going to be interesting. At linebacker, I'm very curious to see how Deshaun Troutman fits in. Tyler Johnson's been a defensive end. They want to play him on that outside linebacker spot. So I'm very curious to see how they fit in. I think Deshaun Troutman, I really like guys that play for good programs and winning teams and things like that. And I like that about Deshaun. I like the competitive environment. I like guys that are just kind of used to doing things the right way and playing well, um, being competitive with their teammates, and just everything that it takes to win. And also, playing against good opponents, that's certainly a key as well. So I like Deshaun Troutman. I know he's not highly regarded, but I think there's some things to like about him with his abilities. Just one to watch for moving forward, because I think Miami's trying to find answers at linebacker. I think that if you were to say, what position would you like to see a transfer portal, a transfer come in, and you only get one? I know a lot of people want to see a big time cornerback. They want to see that improve. For me, I'd love to see a linebacker come in because I think it's so important. I think they're performing right now at a below average to average level most games. I think it's really affecting them because I think you like what they have at defensive line. On the defensive line, you like some of the pieces in the secondary, but they get exposed at that linebacker level. Um, and I know this is something I want to look up, but running backs did a really good job against Miami this year in the running game, not just what we saw in that last one, but a lot of 100-yard backs, a little too many. So I think a lot of that falls in line with the linebacker. So Deshaun Troutman, Tyler Johnson is a guy that I saw play a lot in high school. Very ferocious player, plays hard, attacks. Like I said, he's been more of a rush defensive end, or primarily a rush defensive end throughout his high school career. I think he's athletic enough to play linebacker. I think his size is in the right spot. I think he's got good quickness. So athletically, I think he's there. It'll just be the adjustment of playing in space, understanding what to do. I think that's the thing that we noticed with the linebackers this year. There's a lot of pressure on the linebackers in this defense. In a 4-2-5, you really have to make a lot of plays and understand all the calls because you don't have that third linebacker. So I think that's something to look for if Tyler's going to be able to make an impact at some point in his career, just how well he understands and learns the defense. So AB4, what's going on? Shout out to you. Glad you're here. Linebacker talent isn't an issue. Coaching is an issue. Okay, you know what? I hear you, but it's not the same. I think there's a big drop off of what we saw at linebacker the last several years to what there is now. I don't know what you're expecting from these linebackers. I think that maybe you like the athleticism of Sam Brooks and Avery Huff. Avery just doesn't understand the defense well enough for the staff to put him in there. And we've seen Sam Brooks at times. He flashed a little bit last year, but certainly he didn't do enough this year for the staff to warrant him more playing time. And then Corey Flagg, I think he's a solid player, but I think you saw in that last game he was exposed without a tackle, played a lot right there in the middle. So I think you saw the limitations that Corey has. Maybe you're hoping for bigger things because as he gets older, but certainly linebacker I think is an issue moving forward. Talking about some of the other guys, I like what they got with Jabari Ishmael at defensive end. Think he's going to be a good player. I like you got to keep stacking that defensive end room, and I think they're doing a good job of that with the other young guys, Chance Williams, Cameron Williams. I think you can get some solid play there as you move forward with the defensive end group. I think that with the cornerbacks, I think that was something that came out today with Manny. Malik Curtis, he's an athlete, played all over the place at Bishop Verot High School in Fort Myers, kind of an all-around guy. played a lot on offense, actually more on offense. But Miami sees him as a cornerback. Manny Diaz spoke on that. They're listing him as a corner coming into this class. Athletically, you like the mold that he's in as a corner. He just hasn't played it a lot, so we'll see how he develops there. They really like him in the return game. In particular, I think he does a good job in the kick return game. So I think that's something to watch for. Um, on offense, they're bringing in more guys on the offensive line. Not a huge headliner like they had a year ago with Isaiah Walker and Jalen Rivers in that 2020 class. Um, but they're adding guys, and a lot of guys are coming back next year. So the biggest thing with offensive line is who will develop, and how will they improve with the experience that they got this year. You're hoping again for another jump, um, as they've certainly got to be better. So William Stanley, Blake Greenwood has to leave. Who would be a couple of names to know? If that were to happen, you guys know how we do it on the website. We have all kinds of names ready to go, and I think it'll be interesting just to see what Manny does. I think Blake's certainly gotten a lot of pressure or a lot of attention because of what's going on for the defense, but I find it very interesting because I don't think people quite understand. Look, this is Manny Diaz's defense. Blake didn't come in here and do his own thing. This is not a Mark D'Onofrio situation where he's running something that they don't want him to run. Manny pretty much works all of his time in practice with the defense. He's in all the defensive meetings. Um, so they're all working together, the whole staff. So I think this is a reflection as a staff. And I know Blake, as the coordinator, gets all the attention because things aren't going well. So here we go. Yeah, and just kind of lastly, going back to the linebackers, you're talking about Manny. AB4 wants to talk about linebacker. That's the thing about linebacker also. When Manny Diaz was the coordinator, coaching the linebackers, they did not do a good enough job of bringing in enough talent at linebackers, so there was a seamless transition from Quarterman and Pinckney to linebackers that were very reliable. That's not what they have right now. They're trying to piece it together, trying to get by, seeing guys in flashes. But I think we've seen all of the linebackers, really, to be honest, Bradley Jennings Jr. as well, can be solid at times, but he has limitations physically. And I think, once again, you saw this against North Carolina. So that's why recruiting is such a big deal. You got to make sure you're staying on top of it. Marley Marr, what's going on? Shout out to you. Yeah, man, I'm back. Good talking to you the other day. I appreciate your support, your positivity, your help in getting me back out here doing this live stream. I've put it away for a couple months, to be honest, way too long. But definitely things are going well. So good to see you pop on here. We'll talk soon. Staying with the offense, one of the things I asked Manny Diaz today during the press conference or they had it in the afternoon, but at wide receiver, Miami signs 3 guys at wide receiver. They signed 4 last year. They've got 3 or 4, depending on who comes back. They've got other upperclassmen as well. So they've got a crowded room of receivers. And I want to know what his thoughts were about the competition at that position in particular. And certainly they want to get as many receivers on the field as possible. This year, it really just kind of ran out 3 receivers. That's really the guys that got the most work. There really wasn't that spot, that playing time available for that number 4 spot. Something we talked about going into the year with Jeremiah Payton in particular. And those guys got some playing time, just not a lot of production there. The biggest thing was the second tight end, Will Mallory, got a lot of production. And then they kind of went to him instead of, rolling out a ton of receivers. So if these 3 wide receivers they signed in this year's class, Romello Brenson, Jacoby George, and Brashard Smith, all of them are very good prospects. All of them certainly have good speed. You like that, but I think all 3 of them are a little bit different. I think that's what's going to be interesting to see how they watch them develop. Brinson, what strikes me there, again, coming from Northwestern, I love guys that come from big time programs, the competitiveness, the whole thing, the development he's usually progressing at a positive rate each year. So I like that. But Brinson, the biggest thing is, man, he's got that downfield speed that you love. You want a quarterback that can throw him the ball deep. I think if you're looking at a future connection, Brinson and Garcia, I think are going to light things up for a while. Once they get on the field together, it could take them a little bit. Once again, with people in front of them at this time, definitely watch for them moving forward. Jacoby George is a guy that surprised me when I first saw him. under the radar last summer. Gets a Miami offer. You don't know what to make of it because he wasn't that headliner. Coming from Plantation High School, didn't have that notoriety that some of his classmates had at the time. But I watched him ball out in a summer 7-on-7. Was arguably he got the offensive MVP award there. Was really good against every opponent. Carroll City, Deerfield Beach, played well against everybody he went up against, and all the attention was on him. He did really well. Continued to progress. He's put up ridiculous stats. Athletically, he's going to continue to get bigger. He's got a lot of bounce to his movements. He glides when he runs. He's very good athletically in that sense. He has good hands. He high points the ball at a good rate for being not a huge receiver. So I think there's a lot to like there. I think he's going to be a productive player. He stays on the field. And then Brashard Smith, I saw him play quite a bit. He's a guy that a lot of you probably know locally here in Miami-Dade. Um, he's a guy that, okay, so going back early in his career, felt like he was just a running back, right? You liked him at running back, that's what he did. But then Palmetto would kind of move him at receiver, move him around, throw him the ball, and then you liked him as a dynamic running back that you could throw the ball to. But then he became solely a wide receiver. That's where he made his mark. That's where I think he'll be at Miami. But then this year, their quarterback, a pocket passer, goes down with the injury. They put Burchard in there at the Wildcat. Doesn't throw it quite, didn't throw it a bunch, but just the experience of playing in those tough moments, I think they can have a lot of fun with moving Burchard around. Um, Manny referred to him as a guy on a 3rd and 10, you throw it 5 yards short, and Burchard's a guy that can make 3 guys miss and you get the first down. So I do believe he's got that ability. He's got good quickness. His lateral quickness is good, and he's got good speed. I remember him taking the opening kickoff against South Dade as a junior, big time game. A lot of recruits, D1 prospects all over the place, took it to the house on a kick return. He's not their primary kick returner, but he certainly has that ability. But you can put him back there. A lot to like about Burchard, especially when on this creative offense that you're hoping to see out of Miami. Um, so definitely there. One guy who didn't get a lot of talk today from Diaz, and I found it to be interesting. Um, Savage Kane, yeah, wide receiver room is stacked for sure. I'm curious who you guys think. Maybe some receiver. Who do you think maybe can break out, or what do you think can happen next year at wide receiver? Who do you want to see play? I think it'll be hard with the upperclassmen. Got the experience, but I know you guys are excited about um, the young guys they just signed now. Also, last year, maybe you guys want to see Mike Redding a little bit more. Um, maybe you like Xavier Restrepo or Daz Warsham. Maybe you guys like that. I personally, my favorite of the four, the one I think has a bright future is Keyshawn Smith. I would have liked to see him get on the field a little bit more, but I think he's the one um, out of that group. But certainly a lot of highly regarded four-star recruits in that wide receiver room. Almost everyone was a four-star. Um, at least, 4 3. They probably have at least 8 guys maybe that have been four-star receivers, just throwing out a number, which is pretty crazy. But at running back, Thad Franklin, just nobody really asked about that today, and I don't. Manny didn't talk about him, and Manny broke down his film, um, and that's what I was busy with all day today. Manny, every time a commitment, a signing was made, Miami had a video on Manny talking about each player, so I was constantly transcribing that and putting that on our website. He did speak highly of that. He said he's been a guy that's been picking up yards for a long time now in his high school career. I saw Thad play a couple times on film this year. I wasn't impressed to the point where I felt like he was better than what they have now in Don Chaney Jr. and Jalen Knighton. I think his mold in terms of being a bigger back, a guy that gets downhill, is similar to a Don Chaney Jr. I just don't think he's as good. So in saying that, I think he's going to be having. I think I could see him having an uphill battle for playing time, at least early on, with those two guys. But I think it'll be just something to watch for with Thad. But he's certainly a guy that people have known about for a few years now because he has put up some really big numbers. But definitely something to watch for. Eric Jackson is here. What's going on? Shout out to you. Malik Curtis is actually a cornerback. I talked about that earlier. I know he played a lot of receiver, but Manny Diaz came out today. He said he's a cornerback. He's officially listed as a cornerback on their signing list. But I understand why you think he's a receiver. And honestly, I said it on the website, but I'm okay with that. I don't think Malik is as good as those other three, quite frankly. So when you talk about numbers, I think you talk about uphill battle. I think Malik's best chance of getting on the field is as a kick returner or finding his role and developing as a cornerback with good skills. They're hoping his ball skills as a receiver help him as a cornerback the way they like Marcus Clark right now. And but certainly, Malik's certainly one to watch for, and because of his wide receiver background, who knows? Maybe he does go over there eventually. But they're starting him at corner, and it's something that I personally believe is a good move. Um, some other position things just that came out today. Um, Other ones, Thomas Davis. I think some people might have thought he was going to be a linebacker. He's actually listed as a defensive end, and Manny talked about him once again as a defensive end. And the one thing is, you know, you talk to different sources or even the players about what position you think they might play, or even just watching their film in person. But I think that's what's good about signing day is the coach actually comes out and says, and this talks about him at this position, and they did the announcement with each position, so it wasn't like we were asking questions about where he's going to play. He just literally said, "This is where he's going to play." So that's what stood out to me. Curtis, um, I mentioned Thomas Davis. The other one is Chase Smith. He's a guy that athletically played both sides of the ball. You could use him in different spots. Manny came out and said he's going to be a striker, and they feel like he could be a good striker. Actually showed a film, a clip that's exactly the way Miami likes to use their striker, covering the slot receiver, blitzing, or if it's a run play, doing a good job of shedding a block, getting off his block, and making a tackle. So I think that was um, exactly what kind of got their eye. They believe in this guy that he could be a next really good striker for Miami. So I think those are the three ones that stood out to me in terms of position. Everything else pretty much stood in line with what you expected. He mentioned McLaughlin as a tackle. He said Rodriguez potentially a center there on the offensive line. Um, I think that's about it. We touched on Brashard Smith, his ability to move him around. He touched on the receipt. Maybe that's a little bit the tight ends, both tight ends. He likes Elijah Arroyo, who looks great on film. He's a guy that I think maybe is even better than his ranking. Um, and then another one, Khalil Brantley. Both of them are tight ends that they feel that they can move him at receiver a little bit, the way they moved Brevin Jordan a little bit in this offense. So that's something that they just like, that position versatility. Manny talked quite a bit about that today, actually. So those are two more guys. And yeah, the safety, I touched on Curtis. James Williams, certainly, I was asked about this on the podcast. What position is James Williams going to play? I said he can play any position he wants to play or wherever you want to put him. I think if you talk about him as safety, some people might think he's too big at about 6'4", 6'5" safety. I think if you're looking at, how are we evaluating this? Um, because of what we're looking at right now with what Miami's starting most games with, and that's Amari Carter and Bubba Bolden. I certainly think James is a better player than Amari Carter. So they're at that safety position. So how you evaluate it, just it kind of depends on where you want to put him. And the thing that stands out to me maybe about where to play him, it's going to depend a lot on him. If he wants to play linebacker, I'm sure they'll let him play linebacker. But if he's resistant to it, and certainly you can understand it's more glamorous, he has a brighter future if he can really lock down and be a 6'4", 6'5" safety. Um, there's a lot of opportunities for him moving forward if he can play that at a really high level. I know a lot of comparisons will go back to Sean, and I understand it. I think about Ray quite a bit with that in terms of very good athlete. He was a guy that I talked to, he played safety at Miami his whole time, and then goes to the NFL, plays outside linebacker. And I remember talking to Randy Shannon. Um, I ran into Randy. It was after Ray had left. It was actually after Randy was done coaching at Miami. We talked about Ray, and he said he always felt like, and I felt like this was interesting, just some perspective, but he said he felt like Ray would have been a good linebacker at Miami. He always felt like he should have been, but just Ray wasn't interested in doing that, and so he stayed at safety. And I think, and Ray was fine. He was good at safety, led the team in tackles. I think he did it twice. Still a good player. But you do wonder if he was at linebacker, how good would he have been? How would that have set him up for his NFL career if he did have a lot more training at that position? I think that might be something that James might look at. And once again, Safety's a lot more fun as a 6'4", 6'5" guy. He does a good job watching his film. Kind of played that one high safety look um, for American Heritage, what I saw on film. He did a good job of it's fun watching him. He'll inch close to the line, maybe show blitz, maybe he will blitz, but then he'll back off. He's got great speed, great range, um, and I think that's the things that stand out to me with him. So Jay Freeman is here. Can't wait to see Romello play for sure. That downfield speed is legit. I think he's got better hands than what maybe some of the guys. I guess if we just compare D. Wiggins, example, as a guy with good height, good speed on the current team, and certainly Romello will have to learn the playbook and understand how things work in college. But in terms of athletically, maybe what we saw at the same level when they were in high school, certainly I think Romello's got better hands, does better with those deep routes. And I think he can do more than just go deep. So I think there's a lot to like with Brinson, and certainly very excited to see how he does. Savage Kane with Thad, proper strength and conditioning. Yeah, there's ability there. There's no doubt about it. It's not like, oh, you guys know on the site. I was pretty critical of Robert Burns when he was in high school. I know he had a good rating, All American status. I just didn't think he would make an impact. Um, if I'm down on Thad a little bit, it's not at that level. I do think there's something with Thad there. He can make plays. I just think, yeah, maybe if he, well, first off, he's not going to have that attention the way he's had it in high school because of those other guys. He won't be counted on to produce. So he can sit back, like you said, the strength and conditioning program, develop it, get to a good body weight and strength. And that's not to say it's bad or anything right now, but they can certainly make small adjustments with it that I think can help. And it's helped every running back that's come through here the last few years. So I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good just with the program, but also just once again the attention. Um, he won't have that pressure to be that high level guy, and I think he can kind of sit back and develop. And I think that'll be good for him. Terry Watson, what's going on? Yep, excited about Jake Garcia. I touched on him right at the beginning for a good 5-10 minutes, and you guys can always watch this back. I don't know how long I want to go with the stream, but you can always watch it back. Big thing with Jake, I like a lot about him. Intangibles, arm ability, have more content on Jake coming tonight into tomorrow. We're actually on location, just a reminder there, in Georgia tonight. Had the live updates going. It was a lot of fun and stuff. So definitely appreciate everybody for jumping on. And Luke Crabtree is a stringer there, photographer in Georgia. So shout out to him for the great feedback on the updates and the content there. So James Johnson, what's going on? Getting any DBs? Yeah, that's a big thing, right? Once again, James Williams at safety. Malik Curtis is going to start out at cornerback. Those are their guys right now that they're looking at. Cameron Kitchens is a guy that I haven't talked about. I really like him at safety as well. I really like that. I like the potential in the future of Kitchens and Williams playing together. I think they're two guys that can play off each other really well. I think Kitchens a guy that will always know his role, can make plays if you need him to. I think he's shown that this year with the interceptions. He's a hard hitter. I think you're going to really like Kitchens, and I think he might be overlooked with James, but I think there's no doubt Cam is a good player, and I think he's going to be a good player at Miami. I think he fits into the mold well with what they've been doing at safety with recent guys. And so those are your two safeties. A lot to like there. Um, we're going to do so much stuff on James Williams in terms of impact and can he jump in and what kind of role immediately can he have? Hopefully, to be honest, hopefully they don't waste any time and they get him right there on the field. But Wesley, what's going on? I know you're looking for those cornerback commits. Maybe it comes in the transfer portal. You've got to figure they're going to do that. That'll be a high priority for them. I know they want to do that. Once again, personally, I want to see them. I'd like to see them get a really experienced linebacker, someone they can count on there. Because I'm not sure about this development of these guys. A lot of question marks. I think a lot of them. You can't say that any of the linebackers took a huge enough step that you definitely feel like they are, without a doubt, need to be on the field and are all ACC caliber linebacker. You can't say that about any of them. Maybe you like certain things, or maybe you want to see more of them, that kind of thing. Maybe you're optimistic about some guys, but actual proven track record, you haven't seen it. So we'll see how that goes, but definitely. So Miami has they're looking to. So Jake Garcia is the 21st signee. Mandy's already said 24 is how many they can take right now. So that'll be what they'll look for. They've got 3 spots available. Um, if you just want to pick a couple of positions, quarterback, linebacker, right there. There's 2 to look at. They got their quarterback. Um, so we'll see. Savage, any word on the USC linebacker transfer? That's definitely a good one. Definitely need to check him out and see what's going on there. Obviously, talking about his brother picked Michigan State, so that's interesting. How that might play out or affect things, but we'll see there. But definitely, I think that's what's even though signing day happened and even though the bowl game is coming up, there's still so much to get to with the off season, and um, just a lot going on. Just because season's over or 1 game left doesn't mean things are just folding up. A lot to get to. I think that the turnover will be interesting. One thing that Manny said too today, that just a reminder with the transfers, NCAA is looking to approve a one-time transfer rule where you don't have to sit out a year. So you might start seeing guys transfer all over the place, and not just maybe guys wanting to come to Miami, but maybe guys on the current team are going to look elsewhere as well. So they don't have to sit out a year. Um, that might be something to look at too. So yeah, definitely appreciate everybody. Once again, I posted that shirt. You guys are looking for some gear, some merch. I also like the hoodies. I think those look good too. There's an ITU game shirt. Just want to touch on that. If you guys haven't seen yet, I put up a thing on Jake Garcia. Um, the simulated games that I've done in the past, but I put one up of him in Miami uniform. You guys can check that out. It's always kind of fun to check those things out, but also maybe some other things. If you guys are a fan of the Dynasty from the football series from NCAA Football 14 over the summer, I definitely want to pick that back up. I've been kind of waiting to see how the season went. I want to see how the recruiting wound up. I want to get things going with that in the off season. Um, definitely looking to do that. Baseball's around the corner. I still am doing the basketball stuff with the Hoops 2K8 series. Just kind of not a dynasty, but just doing 1 game. I definitely want to do one coming up. There's a couple there. So Jermaine Johnson, Dennis Lopez, what's going on? Glad you're here. Shout out to you. Jermaine, I've checked in with him. From people in the area from where he's from, I'll definitely have some stuff on that if something starts to materialize. You know what? I think a lot of this with transfers, I think Miami gets through signing day, and now I think they're going to really push forward with seeing how things go with their class. And Manny kind of touched on it that they're definitely going to do that. And just a reminder, the early signing period actually starts today, but it ends on Friday. So they got a couple days to still sign guys in this class if it pops up. Vincent, what's up? Glad you're here as well. Yeah, yeah, Mark Antonio, Richards, he's a guy that Miami certainly wanted, recruited younger brother of Ramon Richards, a guy that they knew, honestly, as a freshman in high school. Um, kind of an athlete guy that you saw play safety and running back, kind of his 2 spots, goes to Auburn, doesn't pick Miami, and like you said, he's now in the portal. I think Vincent. I think the big thing is what position is he, right? I mean, if he's a safety, does Miami really need another safety? I don't think so. And if he's a running back, I mean, I guess you could put him on there, but once again, they just signed Franklin. You got 2 running backs that you really like in Cheney and Knight, and I just don't think that there's a need for him. I'm trying to think back in high school. And I remember seeing him. I'm trying to think if how much cornerback he played, if he's that level of a guy. If I were to guess, even if he could play it, he would be more of a developmental guy. But if they like him, if they feel like he can play corner, then they should offer him. Um, and I only say that because if you're not getting these other corners, at some point you got to start, getting depth and maybe take a flyer on a guy like him if you do have room, um, because by all accounts he's a good guy in the locker room and that kind of thing. So, but we'll see. And yeah, the Johnson defensive end. Um, so just a guy to watch for because I do think that there will be a drop off if Phillips and Roche leave. I expect both of them to leave. I think there will be a drop off. You might like Jafari Harvey, and I know the coaches do. I just don't think that he's going to be at their level. Um, Greg Rousseau the year before, so they've had 3 really highly productive defensive ends the last couple of years. I think Harvey might take a little bit. I think he's more of in the maybe closer to Jonathan Garvin if he's clicking um, than he is at that next level guy. So we'll see. But he certainly could be a good player. So I want to wrap this up. And before we wrap this up, Mason jumps on. He's been a diehard fan of the channel. What's going on, Mason? Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully your season went well this year. Appreciate you always checking in on the channel. I was talking earlier, and you can stream it back, but just I know I have not done these live streams in a long time. It's been a couple months, but I'm back here, and hopefully it's gone well. Got to get used to this again, and certainly plenty to talk about, and definitely want to do that. And I'm really looking forward to the off season and finishing this season off. See how Miami does in the bowl game. I think with what happened against North Carolina, winning the bowl game would be great for this program, and hopefully they fix the things that need to be fixed, so they can be more competitive against the better teams in the conference next year. So, man, Chugmo Beer is here, and I definitely every time you're going to pop on here, I'm going to say your name right this time because that first time I messed it all up, got me all tripped up. But much love to you, man. I appreciate it with that $20 donation. That's too much. You're too kind. I appreciate that super chat. You're great, man. I appreciate it. You're the GOAT. And you're definitely right. That's what I touched on. If anybody that just jumped on now about Jay Garcia, hit this thing right when this thing's over. Go back right to the beginning with Jake Garcia because I talk about him. Things I like about him, his intangibles, his arm. I understand the hype. I get it. And Chug, maybe you're the same way with the hype. Is it real? But I believe it because the things I've seen with him on film, talking to people, um, just watching different things with him and seeing his move across the country, how he's handled it, the stats he's put up. Um, Once again, just I think that there's a lot to like about Jake. I don't think he's going to be a guy that is one of these hype guys that falls short. So definitely appreciate you, man. Happy holidays. Hopefully you're doing well with everything. Marley Marl, what's going on? Yeah, I'll definitely hit you up. All the best. Yeah. All right, bro. I'll talk to you soon. McLevin's here. Let's go win a natty. I want to go win another natty on the dynasty. I know we're not talking about that right now, but I just brought it up. But yeah, I know Miami's got to take a jump. I think it starts with in terms of the near future of D'Eriq King. If he comes back, um, we'll see what kind of team Miami can be. And I think as productive as D'Eriq was this year, I still believe that there's more in him. I think he could be even better than he was this year if he wants to come back and give it another go and run it back. So we'll see how that goes. But I definitely want to, kind of wrap this up fairly soon. If anybody has any other questions, I kind of touched on recruiting. I definitely want to do more on a team one coming back as I get ready for the bowl game. And we're definitely going to talk about the team stuff as well because there's a lot to get to, a lot of opinions. I know you guys are upset with the defense and whatnot, but there's still a lot to talk about with the offense as well. But yeah, Mason, everybody knows Mason too, Florida State fan, but not in here to be a troll. He definitely keeps it real and always appreciate that. And yeah, tough year for Florida State. For a lot of teams that just had that difficult year. Certainly Miami's had some difficult ones over the last few years, but hopefully things are going well for both programs. You just want to see. Personally, I like when teams in the ACC are good teams that like in North Carolina, I think you see that they're a legit team. Miami's got to raise their game. That's all it comes down to. You want to be in high-profile games. You don't want to feel like it's an upset or really you just want good teams on the field. And obviously you're looking for Miami to prevail, but I think it's a good thing if teams in the ACC are competitive. It makes a lot of things more interesting going into it. So. Dennis, when will Barber choose? Yeah, I'm not sure yet. Definitely something to watch for. Austin Barber talking about. So, there's not a ton of names right now in terms of guys to watch for, but definitely, he's one to keep an eye on these next few days, or if he doesn't get done. But yeah, just a reminder: early signing period started today. Most guys sign today, but it ends on Friday, so there's still a couple days if guys do want to enroll early and get in there. They still have a couple days to do that. So there's something else, but yeah, But yeah, forgot what I was going to say. But definitely, everything's gone well. Once again, I'll wrap this thing up. Chug my beer. Once again, the super chat was awesome. Appreciate everybody. Once again, if you're looking for some gear to support the channel, you could go on the merchandise, pick some things up there. There's a hoodie. If there's anything you guys are looking for, a logo that you guys want on a different item or whatever, I can see what I can do. Definitely hit me up. Drop in the comments if you guys want to continue this conversation. Drop in the comments. I'll run this back and watch it back. It's been a really long day, and I feel like as soon as I jumped on the channel, like 3 minutes in, I felt like my voice felt like I was falling apart already. But appreciate everybody's support for jumping on. Be sure to like the channel, like the video, hit the subscribe button. We definitely need to push forward for that. Um, we got to get more people involved in what we're doing here. So many people that jumped on right now with the live chat. I've seen so many of you guys and supporters for a while now jump on these, and it was great. I didn't give any notice and just jumped on, decided to do it. Definitely want to do this soon. We should do it definitely before the bowl game. Talk about team stuff and maybe how some of this stuff materializes, but definitely enjoyed the recruiting talk, some opinions there, and also, just keep checking the channel. More videos, gonna have more stuff on Jake Garcia out of Georgia. Also some more reactionary stuff. I'm working on a piece right now that I'd like to get done in the next couple of days. So keep checking out Inside the U. I know there's a deal. I think it's a 60% off a VIP subscription for the year if you guys are interested in a little bit more content. But definitely appreciate everybody just for jumping on the live stream, asking questions, talking about the team. Glad you guys are excited. I know everybody's disappointed with how it ended. Um, but hopefully maybe you're thinking brighter days are ahead with Jake Garcia, the 5-star commits. There's a lot to be excited about with this class. Didn't even touch on some of these other guys that I think are even better than their rankings. In particular, there's a lot to like on some of these guys. So maybe they'll piece it together with the transfer portal like we've seen in recent years. Once again, shout out to Chug Mo Beer for that super chat. Mason always dropping in here. McLovin's here. Dennis, appreciate everybody. Savage Kane with that first comment of the day. Appreciate you. Marley Marr, talked to him already. McLovin. Okay, everybody, appreciate everybody for jumping on. Have any questions, drop in the comments, and I'll talk to you soon. Hopefully very soon. Take care.